And what is going on, Devils fans? It is, as always, your host, your best friend, your confidant, your number one source, Neil Villapiano, and welcome to another edition of the Devil's State of Mind podcast, right here on the Hockey Podcast Network, as well as SportsWire Radio, the best place to get everything you need to know about your off to a pretty good start in the early season, New Jersey Devils. And as always, Devils fans, hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you're checking out this podcast episode. And thank you guys, as always, for taking time out of your day to check this episode out. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. As you can see here, if you're watching this on YouTube, once again, I'm in a new location, and this one's going to be much more concrete for the time being. I finally moved into the new place. Apologize for the lack of lighting in here. It's not the best, but I promise you that I will fix that. It will get better so that the quality, at least here on YouTube, is better. But nonetheless, thank you guys as always for being patient with me. Thank you guys as always for continuing to support the podcast, whether you're on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You already know that I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you're checking out the episode. And yeah, you look at the first, now we just finished up the first full week of the NHL regular season, and I got to give the Devils a lot of credit. They really have done some really positive things here and have really rattled off some important wins. And they finally did something that they have not done in almost 3 years at this point. It feels, or almost 2 years, actually. It's been a long time, and we'll get into it. So we're gonna recap this past week with the 3 games that the Devils played. I'm also going to give you a couple of little quick observations of what I've seen so far. We're also going to talk a little bit about Timo Meier, because I think Timo Meier deserves his flowers here after just 5 games, going into the season. But it's all for the good. It's all for good reason. And then last, but certainly not least, we are going to look ahead to a even busier week this upcoming week here for the Devils as they continue on here through the first 10 games of the regular season. So, as always, Devils fans, we got a bunch to get to here on the Devil's State of Mind podcast. So let's not waste any more time and get rolling. And we will get rolling and drop the puck with starting off by recapping these past 3 games. So when last we left our heroes, I was recording on the day of the game that the Devils took on the Columbus Blue Jackets to wrap up the quick road trip. It was a couple hours before puck drop, and I'm glad I got the episode out and recorded because we actually lost power around 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I'm fortunate that I was able to get that out before all of that ended up being an issue. But nonetheless, let's get into this as the Devils finished the road trip on a high with a 3-2 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets in Columbus. Devils got off on the right foot here. Timo Meier scoring on the power play, his second already of the year. Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt got assists on that one. Kirill Marchenko on a breakaway was able to tie the game up at 1. But then Dawson Mercer, towards the midway point of the period, was able to score off a beautiful feed from Arseny Gutsyuk to get the Devils back in front to make it 2-1. Mercer getting his first of the year. And the Devils went into the third period up 2-1. But that's when things kind of took a turn for I don't want to say the worst, but concern is the best way to put it. Because when the third period started, it was not Jake Allen who was in net, who was getting his first start of the year. It was Jacob Markstrom. And all of us were going, what the hell is going on here? Well, why is Jacob Markstrom in net? Well, at first we were told that Jake Allen would not be returning to the game. And of course, all of us being, the pessimists that we are with all these injuries, we immediately assumed that, he's severely hurt. He's going to be out a long time, this, that, and the other thing. Somewhere during the middle of that period, we were told that it was a simple case of Jake Allen was dealing with cramps. So I guess he didn't drink enough water or didn't have an extra banana before this game started and ended up cramping. So nonetheless, Jake Allen ended up missing the third period and Jacob Markstrom took over. And really, for the most part, Jacob Markstrom was very strong in net, continued to keep the Devils in front, and that Dawson Mercer was able to score an empty net goal with 57 seconds to go to pretty much seal the deal in this one. Heischer and Brendan Dillon getting assists on that one. But then, just 36 seconds later, Dmitry Voronikov ended up scoring his second of the year. And when that goal happened, Jacob Markstrom immediately looked uncomfortable. He looked like he had definitely hurt something, and he was slow to get up. And he did eventually get up and ultimately played the final 21 seconds of the game. And the Devils were able to lock down the 3-2 win. But you saw that Jacob Markstrom kind of gingerly, well, not gingerly, he quickly made his way off the ice, wasn't even around to celebrate with his teammates. And, that was the last that we had seen Jacob Markstrom. And at the time of this recording, Jacob Markstrom is currently out week to week with a lower body injury. But the good news is that Tom Fitzgerald, who spoke to the media last week, said that Markstrom's going to be fine. He's already back on the ice skating. So all the good things. That was a stressful 48 hours after that win against Columbus because we had no idea when we were going to get the information of what exactly Markstrom was dealing with. Um, again, it's described as a lower body injury, so that's all we know. But the most important thing, other than the fact that Jacob Markstrom, even though he's going to be out week to week, but he's going to be back sooner, probably rather than later. The Devils finish a very successful first road trip of the year after dropping the first game, the season opener against Carolina. Back-to-back wins against Tampa Bay and then Columbus ends the road trip on a high note. Dawson Mercer with a great game, getting himself his first two goals. The power play, I talked about it prior to that game against the Blue Jackets, that the power play has to get going, and it did. It was 2 for 2 in this one, with Timo Meier and Dawson Mercer getting the goals, and it was great. It was really great to see the power play in particular get going in that one. So yeah, again, Devils coming away with an important win, and now they head home for their home opener last Thursday against the now two-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. And so again, Jake Allen only dealing with cramps. It's fine. Nico Dawes gets called up, and Dawes is going to be the backup at least for the time being, and we'll see what happens if and not if, but when Jacob Markstrom comes back. But going into this one, it was a big game, despite the Florida Panthers having several of their key guys out, and Matthew Tkachuk, and also Sasha Barkov, and several others. But it was still going to be a difficult game nonetheless, because again, you're facing a team that has won the Stanley Cup each of the last 2 years and has been to the finals each of the last 3 years. Well, the Devils came out and had themselves a really, really, really solid game against the Florida Panthers, and they came away with the 3-1 win at home in the home opener against this Florida team. Timo Meier had himself yet another strong game with 2 points in this one. And, look, the game starts. Evan Rodriguez, less than 2 minutes in, gives the Panthers the 1-0 lead, despite, in my opinion, the Devils outplaying, through the majority of this game against Florida. But the Devils were able to get going. Jack Hughes finally getting his first goal of the year on the power play, taking a shot that ricocheted off the goaltender and in. Bratt and Timo Meier got assists on that one. And the Devils, for the second consecutive game, find the back of the net on the power play. Then we go to the third period, tied at a goal apiece. And then Timo Meier, about 6.5 minutes in, off a shot from the point from Shimon Nemec with a beautiful deflection in front that gets through the legs of the goaltender and in. And the Devils would grab the 2-1 lead. And then just about 5 minutes later, Nico Hischier, off a tremendous individual effort by Dawson Mercer to keep the puck in, Nico Hischier is able to get the puck in the slot and beat the goaltender to get his second of the year. And the Devils would make it 3-1. And although the Devils were able to seal the deal with that goal, it was still pretty intense because the Panthers had pulled the goaltender late. Sam Reinhart looked like he had scored a goal, but it was waved off immediately due to goalie interference on Anton Lundell. The Panthers ended up challenging the call. It took a while, and then the head referee made the mistake of saying, after further review, the call on the ice stands. It's a good goal. He immediately turned back around, said, "Excuse me," very loudly on the mic, which was so funny, pop off, and redeemed himself and said, after further review, the call on the ice stands, no goal. So Panthers were not able to get that goal, and the Devils held on to a, I guess you would say, come from behind 3-1 win over the Florida Panthers. Big, big, big win. Third win in a row against this two-time defending championship team, regardless of who is on the ice. The Devils also have guys out too, so it's not like the Panthers were the only ones. But the Devils got done what needed to get done. The top guys stepped up. Everybody played well defensively. Jake Allen, super, super, super strong in net in this one as he ended up stopping 21 of the 22 Florida Panther shots. And again, the Devils get themselves that win. Before I continue on with talking about Saturday's game against the Edmonton Oilers, I wanted to quickly shout out a couple of people that I interacted with at the game. All these people are friends of mine, or Twitter friends, or whatever the case may be. The first guy I want to shout out really quickly is a guy named Jack Fisher. He was a really awesome dude from the land down under in Australia who had a seat right next to mine, to the right of mine. And we talked the entire game. He was asking me questions about the sport, about the Devils, and everything like that. He was getting pumped up when the Devils were scoring. He was so amazed by the in-arena, things going on. And I think we ended up getting a new fan for the New Jersey Devils and for hockey as well. So shout out to Jack Fisher from Australia, man. Really, really nice guy. Great to meet you. And hopefully we'll see you again at another Devils game down the road. Also, shout out to two people named Morgan and Lily who sat to the left of me. Ironically, Morgan and I are Twitter friends, which is so funny. And then we ended up realizing it after a while. But they were both awesome to talk to as well. Shout out to them. They were great to be around during that game. Absolutely, absolutely awesome. Also, shout out to my friend Chrissy, who I've talked about on the podcast, and the reason that I get this awesome custom Devils jacket. She had these cute tattoos that people could put on their face, on their hands. I had one on each of my my hands. She was actually interviewed during the first period by MSG, which was absolutely awesome. Rachel Herzog was able to interview her. She was on there. It was great. She's a really dear friend of mine. And shout out to you, Chrissy, because that was really awesome that you got to be a part of that. Also, my good friends from Utica, Crystal and Gabby. Always a pleasure to see you guys at games and interacting with you and hanging with you after the games as well. I want to shout out to them. And also my best buddy, Steve, Marco, Angelo, Nick, Jose, Thomas, Ashley, who has been on the podcast before, and many others that I'm not mentioning by name, but you know who you are. It was so great to see everybody at the home opener. It felt like a reunion in many ways. And I just wanted to shout out a lot of those people for making that experience for me even more memorable than just the Devils getting the win. But again, like I said, the Devils get themselves the big time win against the Florida Panthers, and then head into Saturday afternoon's game to wrap up the week against the two-time defending Western Conference champion Connor McDavid-led Edmonton Oilers. And the Devils made themselves an early season statement as they came away with the 5-3 win over the Oilers in this one, and this was a great win overall. Jack Hughes got us started with a beautiful individual rush, got around one defender and took a shot far side, beating the goaltender Calvin Pickard to give the Devils a 1-0 lead off the post and in. Later on in that period, just about almost exactly 8 minutes later, Jesper Bratt on the first shot on the power play with a backhand goal to get his third of the year. Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier with assists. Devils now with power play goals in each of the last 3 games. Nugent Hopkins would get one back for Edmonton, and that's where things got intense going into the third, because the Oilers got a power play a little over midway through the third. It was still 2-1, and the Devils penalty killers came up big, particularly someone who is playing against his former team. Starting off, Luke Glendening doing everything he can to get the puck out of the zone, is able to just get it out and get Connor Brown streaking on a breakaway, and he's able to beat Pickard and give the Devils the 3-1 lead, the 2-goal lead back. Brown getting already his 3rd goal of the season and scoring against his former team, which was awesome, as the Devils get their 2nd shorthanded goal of the early season here. Jack Hughes then, just a little under 2 minutes later, off a nice feed from Brack, who was able to keep it in on the forecheck. Goes from the backhand to the forehand on a beautiful goal by Hughes to give the Devils the commanding 4-1 lead. With Hughes now already at 3 goals, Brack getting his 4th assist of the early season. That made it 4-1. Nugent Hopkins would get one back with about 4.5 minutes to go, getting his 2nd of the game. But then Dawson Mercer getting his 3rd goal of the season already, scoring an empty netter. Nico Hischier getting himself the lone assist, kind of, swapping roles from the goal that they ended up creating against Florida a couple nights before. And then our old friend, Curtis Lazar, making his Edmonton Oilers debut against his former team, scoring a goal with just seconds to go. Adam Henrique, another former Devil, getting the primary assist. But nonetheless, the Devils were able to get themselves the deserved 5-3 win. But that's not the most important thing, ladies and gentlemen. The most important thing over everything else is that for the first time in 1,006 days, the New Jersey Devils have won 4 games in a row. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous to celebrate about, but you got to understand, if you haven't been watching the Devils, how important that is for this team. And Sheldon Keefe even talked about after the game that this team is maturing. They are finding ways to get through these games and ultimately win them. And it is honestly a great sight to see. You're getting your top guys going. You're getting some depth scoring from guys like Connor Brown, which is phenomenal. And you're still getting that solid defense and goaltending despite some injuries. It's great to see. So the Devils finished the week perfect at 3-0-0 and are now 4-1-0 through their first 5 games of the year and are currently on a 4-game winning streak, which is great, great to see. And now heading into this week, let's hope this team can continue to build upon it. There's some good games this week, some winnable ones, some really tough ones, but nonetheless, more opportunities to rack up the points here in the early going and continue to make those early season statements. So really great week in the first full week of the year for the New Jersey Devils. Now, before I continue on here, just want to quickly shout out our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And hockey is back, and this season, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, brings you all the speed, skill, and nonstop action you love. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets instantly. And honestly, I use this app. I use DraftKings all the time, and there's no reason that you shouldn't either. You should not be using it. You have to absolutely be using it. It is the best place to get in on all the huge cash prizes. You could do something simple like bet the money line, who you think is going to win, and all you got to do is bet $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in risk-free bets. This is a perfect offer for anybody new to DraftKings, new to sports betting, and new to betting on hockey. I absolutely recommend that to you. And I've needed a product like this, and it's what I'd use 1,000% here. And all you got to do to get in on this action is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available. Problem gambling? Call 888-787-77 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Pass through a per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see DraftKings.com/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved. Okay, so the next thing I want to quickly talk about here is just some early observations that I've seen now through the first 5 games of this still early season. So first and foremost, power play is exactly where I expect it to be now. After starting the year off 0-6, they have started to find the back of the net. They have now scored at least 1 power play goal in each of the last 3 games, which is absolutely phenomenal. Jack Hughes, who struggled to score a goal in his first couple of games, is starting to heat up now with goals in back-to-back games. 3 goals in total so far, and he has 6 points already on the new season. Dawson Mercer, who was one of those guys that we were looking to try to step up in the top 6, is doing a fantastic job playing alongside Nico Hischier and Timo Meier. He has 3 goals, which granted 2 of them are empty netters, but they're goals nonetheless, and 5 points on the year. And Connor Brown has been that tremendous addition that we were looking for depth scoring. Already 3 goals in 5 games, including that big shorthanded goal in the win over Edmonton on Saturday afternoon. So these are things that you'll love to see. You want to see them continue to play this way, get off to good starts. They're starting to find ways to score more in the first period and get off to the start that they need. And the hope is that they can continue to do that here moving forward as we continue on here in the month of October and in this early season. But there's one guy that I want to personally shout out who's had a really strong start to the year. And I have been banging on the table about this guy getting more of the opportunities here because he will showcase that scoring ability and really stepping up. And that, without question, is Timo Meier. And many say Timo Meier has finally returned to form in the way that we saw him with the San Jose Sharks. I'm here to tell you, as well as some others will tell you, that he never left. That form never left. It was there all along. It's just the numbers weren't showing it. But the overall play and what he was trying to create was there. It's just a magnitude of bad luck. And also, in many ways, bad positioning as well. Playing on his offhand, not playing power play 1 minutes. And that was both with Lindy Ruff and even Sheldon Keefe a lot last year. And now that Timo Meier is getting that top power play minutes and getting those opportunities and having great chemistry with Hischier and Mercer on that second line, he's producing. He's got 3 goals, 5 points so far, has scored in 3 of the last 4 games. This guy is finding ways to score in many different ways and contribute. Not only is it power play 1, but he's being allowed to crash the net a lot more and be that aggressive scoring power forward that the Devils acquired a couple years ago from San Jose. And so, yeah, I just wanted to shout him out because he's off to a tremendous start. And I hope he can continue it here because it's really been great to see. And I wanted to shout out Timo Meier here. If he can keep this up, guys, there was nothing telling me that he won't be able to get the 30 goals. That was one of my predictions. That was one of my hot takes in my season preview this year, is that Timo Meier has the capability to score 30 plus goals. And if he keeps this up, he's already got 3. He needs 27 more, which is a lot. But nonetheless, keep up this play. He could absolutely get there and get back to being one of those dangerous power forwards in the NHL, which would absolutely be best case scenario for the New Jersey Devils. So shout out to Timo Meier, man, continuing to play well. Hopefully he can keep it up here. Keep getting those opportunities. Sheldon Keefe, do not take him off power play 1. Keep it going because he will continue to produce. We've seen it in just a short period of time, and it's going to keep continuing. I believe that, wholeheartedly. So lastly here, just want to show you guys what is going to be happening this upcoming week for the Devils. Devils have 4 games this week, including Sunday. I count Sunday as part of this week. Some people may not, but I don't care. Nonetheless, here is the schedule for this upcoming week. So tomorrow night, the Devils are in Toronto against the Leafs. Once again, another chance for Sheldon Keefe to get some revenge against the team he once coached. And then the very next day, on the back half of the back-to-back, the Devils are at home against Kirill Kaprizov and the Minnesota Wild. And then Friday night, I will be in attendance for that one. The Devils are in what I would consider to be very much a trap game against the young but struggling San Jose Sharks. Devils went 0-2 against the Sharks last year, 0-1 to be specific. And so let's see if the Devils don't take the Sharks lightly this time and come away with the win. And then last but certainly not least, on Sunday the 26th, a home game against the high-flying and always dangerous Colorado Avalanche, who are led by, right now, the early season favorite to win the Vezina Trophy in Scott Wedgwood, who has played phenomenal in relief of the injured Mackenzie Blackwood, another former Devil goaltender. And it'll be fascinating to see what happens once we get to that point, but that's going to be another big test. And again, as you can see from the schedule, after the game against Minnesota, you're playing the Sharks and Avs twice, both teams in the next 4 games. Again, you have the Sharks at home. You have the Sharks and Avs at home on the 24th to 26th. And then next week, on Tuesday and Thursday of next week, you begin that West Coast-ish road trip against Colorado and then San Jose. So you have some winnable games and you have some tough games as well. And again, still early in the season, but these are the prime games to make those, as I keep saying, early season statements and really getting yourself in a great position here to get off to the right foot, what you want to do. So, big week coming up. My overall record prediction is that I think the Devils are going to end up with at least 2 wins. Um, I think it's going to be tough against Colorado. I think Toronto in Toronto is always going to be a challenge. But hey, this Devils team has proven already that they can compete with the top teams in the league, and there's nothing saying that they can't come out against these teams and win. So it's just about taking one game at a time and going from there. But on that note, Devils fans, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Devil's State of Mind podcast. As always, thank you guys so much for taking time to check out this episode. Really, really, really do appreciate it. As always, if you want to check out more of the podcast, follow me on social media, Devil's State of Mind on Facebook and Instagram, and Devil's State over on Twitter. Follow the TikTok, Neil.Villapiano, my full name, but just with a period in between Neil and Villapiano. And then follow my BlueSky account for Devils updates over there as well. Just search Neil Villapiano and you will find it. Like and subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't already. We are getting close to 170 subscribers. Going to continue to push here. Let's get to 175. Want to keep racking up these milestones as I build the podcast here on YouTube. And go over to where the podcast is very well known on all of our audio platforms: Apple, Spotify, Google, SoundCloud, wherever. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, do me a favor and make sure to leave a 5-star rating on either one. Really helps continue to grow the podcast more and more and get it out to even more Devils fans here. And so just those are where you can check out more of the Devil's State of Mind podcast. And again, thank you all so very much for checking out this episode, and we will see you in the next episode. Everyone, continue to be the awesome people that you are. And as I always say at the end of every episode, put those horns up, baby, and let's go, Devils.